And we are also on progress. A very warm welcome to another episode on Fauza's Diaries. If you are looking for something little and yet inspiring, then you have stumbled upon the right show. That's the beauty about my diaries. They inspire us, they encourage us, but also they make us think. Joining me today on this particular conversation is a sister friend, joining me all the way from United Kingdom, Dr. Carolyne Opinde. She has done so much in her life that I would like for her to just take a few minutes and introduce herself to you and to me. Dr. Carolyne, thank you so much for saying yes to having this conversation with me. Please take a little bit of time and introduce yourself to our audience this morning.
Fauza, thank you so much. It's a great honor and a pleasure to be here today and to share my story. About myself, I describe myself as a woman of faith. I believe in using my skills and my talents and my gifts to impact people's lives. I'm a global citizen. I'm a Kenyan, a resident of South Africa. I'm married to a handsome Portuguese man, and we now live here in the United Kingdom, in Manchester. That's where I am right now. So I like to call myself a global citizen because when people ask me, where are you from? I have lived in many countries. So sometimes it's kind of difficult to say where I am from, but originally I am from Kenya. I'm an award-winning global consultant. I call myself a social innovator because I look for innovative ways of solving socioeconomic issues around the world, working with nonprofits and social enterprises. And that comes under an organization that I founded called the Ngo Whisperer. And we are a consulting business. We work with nonprofits around the world and social enterprises, and we provide technical support to them so they can successfully impact people's lives. We've worked in a number of countries and we continue to work in those countries. And some of those countries are from Africa, countries in Europe, in North America, Latin America, and the Caribbean. So that's what I do here at the Ngo Whisperer. Apart from that, here at the Ngo Whisperer, we also run a global fellowship program. Through the global fellowship program, we have just launched our inaugural fellowship, which started on the 17th of July and will run through to December 2021. And we have 14 global leaders. These are nonprofit executives. These are social enterprises executives who have come on to learn how to go to the next level. And so that's what we do at the Ngo Whisperer. In addition to that, we have a global media platform, and in the form of our magazine, the Ngo Whisperer magazine, and you can see the magazine right there, and the Ngo Whisperer show, just like this show I am on. We work on branding and marketing, nonprofit leaders, and social enterprises telling their stories, educating the nonprofit sector, again, because we want to impact people's lives. And our slogan is connecting people, raising funds, and impacting lives. Lastly, I wanted to talk about my role in as a social evangelist, I may call myself, where I speak internationally in various conferences. And I was just honored and privileged last year to speak at a conference and to moderate a session at a conference where we had former President Bill Clinton, Bishop T.D. Jakes, among many others, leaders and CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. So in a nutshell, my role in my life is around connecting people, raising funds, and impacting lives.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You are doing really quite a lot of impressive things. And I am so thankful that, that God has actually put you in that position so that you can be able to carry another person, and pull them along as you go. That is why we are here. Service. I always say that service brings significance, and that's a testimony of everything that you are doing, my dear. And you have shared quite a lot, and I want us to go back a bit. You have done quite a lot of amazing things, from providing technical support to non-governmental organizations in Africa, Europe, North America, Latin America, and the Caribbean, and, to founding your own NGO, the Ngo Whisperer, that led you, into merging everything that you do sort of together. I'm just curious because, I always say that sometimes people, they see you, they only see the glory. I always say people choose to see the glory, but they don't know actually the story of why led you to go into that direction. Because I always believe we do what we do because there is a why. And your why is what always motivates you, even when the going gets harder. And I always like to ask this question because I want other people, the young women, those who are following us, those who are looking up to us, to know that they are not just sitting there because because they just found themselves there. No, it's a journey. It's a journey that can also sometimes have its ups and downs. But here you are doing all this, you're connecting people. What was your why? What led you into this journey? Because serving is not easy. It needs a heart of gold. I don't know if you will, service is not easy. What was your why?
Thank you so much for that question. It is quite a heavy loaded question. And I wanted to start by sharing how I got into the nonprofit sector. I studied mathematics and chemistry at the university level, University of Nairobi. And upon completion, I was offered an opportunity to volunteer for a nonprofit. Actually, while I was a student, I continued to support other students. And it was at that time when there was a lot of HIV and AIDS education. Back in the day, they used to call it the ABCs of HIV prevention. And because I was a student leader already at the university, a representative of other students in the student council, and specifically speaking about issues around accommodation and catering for students, and especially looking at students who come from low-income communities to ensure that they get accommodation at the university. I was selected to go through a HIV peer education program so I can use my influence to speak about behavioral change at the university. So that is how I got to step into the nonprofit sector. And at that time, it was my mentor, my first mentor, engineer Michael Mutungi from Kenya, who invited us to be part of this amazing organization. At that point, he was doing a pilot test at the University of Nairobi. Then, after I completed, my team actually won. It was the best peer education group within the entire university. And so he invited me for an interview, and I thought I was going to volunteer. So I was happy because my direction, based on what I had studied, I was thinking of myself maybe going into maybe chemical engineering. These were thoughts that I had, or going working as a statistician with the reserve banks and stuff like that. But then when I went to this interview, it lasted for 5 minutes. And all he asked me is, are you available to come and work with us. Little did I know that he was offering me a job. And then I said, yeah, I would be honored to learn how to work in the nonprofit sector and to collaborate with you and to be a leader and to train as a trainer now, program trainer in HIV and AIDS prevention among university students. And he asked me one last question: are you available to come over on Wednesday? It was on a Monday, to come over on Wednesday, which was the 15th of August. And please pack a bag for 2 weeks because you're going for orientation workshop. And I was like, so what does that mean? He said, oh, you just got yourself a job. Are you happy with it? Fauza, that's how I got into the nonprofit sector. I wasn't looking for it. I was busy serving and doing things. And someone somewhere mentioned my name and they said she would be a good fit. And that's how I stepped into the nonprofit sector, and I haven't looked back. Someone might say, oh, but you could have been a chemical engineer, or you could have been a statistician working with the bank or government or World Bank and all those really high profile jobs in the STEM industry. But I have never regretted it, Fauza. And many, many years later, here we are. So my why is really driven when I got to taste what it means to make an impact in people's lives. So I got to see exactly what it means to make an immediate impact. You know, you speak and someone makes a decision to change their behaviors. You have a session with someone and you help them not commit suicide. You speak at a conference and people come to you and they tell you, you know what, I haven't experienced what you're talking about and I would like to learn more. Would you coach me? Would you mentor me? And that's how it was at the beginning when I was a program trainer, and I have gone through all the different stages of growth and learning because I didn't study, and there are very few universities that teach you how to work in the nonprofit sector. So then after a few years, I decided to move to South Africa because there was another opportunity. Again, it was a volunteer opportunity where you volunteer your services as a professional to provide support to organizations. And it's not really a volunteer in the case of non-trained volunteer. These are professionals. We had doctors in our teams, we had nurses, and we had people like me who are experienced in resource mobilization and business development. And so I went to South Africa, and I thought I was going to go there for 2 years working with Voluntary Services Overseas, an organization that brings together professionals from around the world and places them in low-income and middle-income countries around the world to provide technical support to organizations that are impacting people's lives but may not have the technical capability to do it. And so I was placed in Cape Town, and I stayed on and continued to work in South Africa years later. So after completing my 3 years of placement with Voluntary Services Overseas, I continued to do that, and I got a job with another nonprofit. And after that, in 2018, I stepped out of full-time employment and founded the Ngo Whisperer. We are not a nonprofit per se. We work with nonprofits. We are a consulting business, and we provide technical support to nonprofits and social enterprises. And so my why, if you may ask me, is, I like to say this is my why, really to impact people's lives. And why am I so interested in the nonprofit sector? I just want to give you a few pointers that will show you the importance of the nonprofit sector. Number one, there are over 10 million nonprofits and non-governmental organizations around the world. 10 million of them. And these 10 million organizations, they vary from very large organizations that have an annual budget of billions of dollars to smaller community-based organizations. They vary in terms of their technical capabilities, in terms of the work that they do, but at the end of it all and at the core of everything they do is impacting people's lives. And so that for me opened my eyes to see, wow, there's this new world that is making an impact. And people refer to the nonprofit sector as the third sector. So the governments are the first sector, the corporations are the second sector, and the nonprofits are the third sector. And even though they're referred as the third sector, according to recent statistics, it shows that if the nonprofits from all over the world were put together as a country, it would be the fifth largest economy in the world. That shows you how powerful the nonprofit sector is. And I love this sector, working with nonprofits, social innovators, social entrepreneurs to make an impact in people's lives. That's my why.
I love it. And you know why I love everything that you have said? It's because based on personal experience, I realized that most of the time, you know, some of these big organizations, they just do some of these services just to tick the box and, you know, is it SRC or CRC, you know, and sometimes I'm like, but you can't just do one-off thing, because really when you look at it, there is just so much in this world that needs to be done, and we can't just wait for the few, you know, who have the funds and all that to, you know, to be the one just doing the one-off thing. So let me applaud you for that, because we need more people. Honestly, we need more of this, Dr. Carolyne, because I just feel like there is just a lot that needs to be done. There is just quite a lot. And you have done so much, my darling, and I just love how global you are. But again, nobody foresaw this, that 2020, the world will come to a standstill because of COVID. And nobody saw this coming. So many organizations had to restructure. You know, there have been so much impact in our economy, in different industry, whether medium or large scale. You know, even big corporates, you know, have had to re-strategize and restructure. And, you know, it's been not an easy couple of months so far. You know, and COVID has absolutely disrupted everything, the entire world. And we have all had to adjust ourselves. How has it been for you and your organization?
Thank you so much. That is a really good question. The Ngo Whisperer has always been and will continue to operate remotely. When I started in 2018, as I mentioned, I work with nonprofits around the world. There is no way I could have been traveling to all these organizations. It is just not economical and not effective and cost efficient at all. So we decided at the beginning, you know, me, myself, and the team that I work with, and the nonprofits and the social enterprises that I work with, that we will work remotely. So when COVID hit, it found us already working remotely. Of course, the nonprofits that I provide technical support to, or the social enterprises that I work with, they are working at different levels. Most of them, as you know, they work within communities, and they were not working remotely. And changing from what they were doing to now serving their clients remotely was quite the challenge. So if you allow me, I will speak about the Ngo Whisperer, but also the nonprofits and what I have worked with them to achieve, and the steps that we have worked together to achieve. So when COVID hit, you know, many nonprofits, large and small, did not have a risk management strategy. And the risk management strategy to address issues or risks such as a global pandemic that will prevent people from working face-to-face or one-on-one with clients. So unlike what I do, because I can work from anywhere with anybody as long as we have internet and a computer, and like we are right now on Zoom, we can work together and achieve our goals. For our nonprofits, for our social entrepreneurs and enterprises, it is not so, because some things have to be done face-to-face with your clients. Right. One of the things that really came about, as a strong thing for many nonprofits to do, apart from the workers working from home, was to automate systems. So we looked at low technology, or low tech as they call it, and to find ways in which they can use the power of a mobile phone to provide support to the people that they serve. And so many of my clients have now moved to either designing an app or just using whatever is existing right now in the form of WhatsApp, Messenger, social media, and many other technology that is available. But most of them are using WhatsApp to communicate and share the message. And it might not look as something that is very innovative, but for many people who are being served by these nonprofits, they feel that they still have that one-on-one relationship with program managers, program officers, community mobilizers, and trainers who are serving them in the community. So it made us have a shift in our thinking to say, how can we do the work that we do, even though we are not meeting face-to-face? So that is number one for our nonprofit clients and our social enterprise clients. Secondly, it allowed people to already bring to fruition innovations that they had, that they were putting in the back burner. So many organizations that I work with have now developed new ways of doing things. Some of it is not new because they had already discussed it, but the opportunity was not there for them to take it on or to make it a priority. And so the beauty of what has happened, I know what's happening with the pandemic. You look at it and you may see, oh, it's all dull and gloom. But for many nonprofits, it was an opportunity for them to be innovative. One example is a client of mine who provides skills development. What they did is they created an online academy where students from, of course, they are based in South Africa and students in South Africa, but now they have people in Pakistan, in Nigeria, and around the world logging in and learning on their online academy. And they have made it so easy to use, such that if you have a mobile phone, again, with a mobile phone, you can log in and learn this skills development. Whatever can be done online is done online. And then, of course, the ones who are in South Africa get to go once in a while, observing the lockdown measures into their laboratories, into their workshops, to do the practical work. So that would have not been achieved if COVID pandemic had not come, because we had talked about it. We had talked about it, but it hadn't been implemented because there was no need. And COVID pushed us to think differently. So even as we talk about the pandemic and how it has made life difficult, it has also pushed us to be more innovative, to be creative, and to solve issues. And that's why I said, I'm a social innovator. I look at problems in the society and I look for innovative ways of solving those problems. So working with our nonprofit clients and social entrepreneurs, we find solutions to these problems.
Absolutely. I believe that there is a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. And, that's so beautiful, because I always say that, yes, there is a problem, but what can we do now? And so to say that exactly how I had to maneuver for myself when the pandemic, before it started, because I do organize events where I bring people globally, but that was before pre-COVID. And then when COVID hit, I was like, okay, so I cannot have face-to-face events. So what you gonna do? And now here we are having this conversation right here, and it's the same if I were to invite you to come as a speaker or face-to-face, because we're gonna be talking about same issues and how we can move forward, beyond, the things that we go through in life and all that. And now it's like having a one-on-one, which still the same as, of course, I still miss the hug and the touch, the human, that you cannot replace. But I love that we have to be creative and really say, this is the issue, but what can we do now? And what are the resources that we have? And what can we do it differently if it needs be? Yes, you have shared quite a lot, Dr. Carolyne. And of course, I still want us to touch on the issue of, before COVID again. And now with COVID, you've shared a lot how you have had to strategize, not just for you, but even for the organizations that you work with. But I'm also curious to know, in general, how has the entrepreneurial journey been for you specifically? Because, sometimes, it looks so easy and all that, but there is a lot of hard work that goes behind the scene that many people actually don't get to think about. So how has this journey been for you?